Today we're going to go ahead and continue practicing with congruent triangles. Now we've already talked about the ways that we can prove triangles are congruent. Remember those theorems were side, 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 and angle, side, angle, side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, and HL. So primarily today what we're really going to do is we're going to concentrate on really working through a problem from start to finish on being able to prove that triangles are congruent using the 3 steps that are in the box. The most important part of this is making sure that we can accurately mark the clues into our diagrams. So let's go ahead and begin with problem number 1. Angle AXB and angle XYZ are right angles. So angle AXB, follow those letters, AXB, so there's a right angle right there, and XYZ, so there's a right angle right there. The second clue says that X is the midpoint of AY. Now, since segment AY is right here, we want to go ahead and because X is the midpoint, it is going to bisect that segment. So we are going to need to cut that yellow segment into 2 congruent pieces. And then our third clue says that we need angle Z right here to be congruent to angle B. So all 3 of our clues have been properly marked into our picture. Now we can go ahead and determine what triangles are congruent and why. So if we look carefully at the triangle that's been provided for us, triangle ABX, if we look at our picture, ABX goes from blank to blue to red, so we're going to have to follow that, blank to blue to red, so that's going to be triangle XZY. And the theorem that we are going to use, we have 2 angles followed by a side, so angle, angle, side. Now, the extra question that is being asked, we need to determine is segment AB congruent to segment XZ? Well, segment AB is right there and segment XZ is right there. Those are corresponding parts within our congruent triangles, so we can go ahead and say that those triangles produce congruent parts. So is the segment AB congruent to segment XZ? Yes. Now we can go ahead and write this out since congruent triangles, then corresponding parts are congruent. Now, I know that gets a little time consuming to go ahead and write every single time, so in lieu of that, we're going to go ahead and use the acronym CPCTC, which stands for the corresponding parts of the congruent triangles are congruent. So it definitely makes things a little bit easier and a little bit shorter. So that was problem number 1. So let's go ahead and move on to problem number 2. Again, we're going to go ahead and mark the clues that have been provided to us and take it from there. So clue number 1 says that the triangle GAZ is isosceles with AZ as the base. Now, we have to think about that. If AZ is our base right there, an isosceles triangle has 2 congruent legs. So the 2 congruent legs would be AG and GZ. Now we can go ahead and take a look at our second clue where it says that T is the midpoint of AZ. Well, we already have segment AZ highlighted, so if T is the midpoint, it bisects that. So again, it's going to make 2 congruent parts. Now, it seems a little bizarre that we're only given 2 clues, but oftentimes there is a third clue that's missing that we're going to have to get really good at being able to find. And it's right here, this segment GZ. Oops, I mean GT. Since segment GT is in the left triangle, and since segment GT is in the right triangle, it has to be the exact same segment, so that is congruent to itself. The fancy word is called, it's the reflexive property. So now that we have all three clues marked, we can go ahead and determine which triangles are congruent. Since we have triangle ATG, and if you look at your marks, that goes blue to orange, we're going to follow that blue to orange, ZTG, and that would be our side, side, side. Now, our next question asks, is angle A congruent to angle Z? Again, we can go ahead and look at our picture, and because it's an isosceles triangle, we can determine that those angles are congruent. But another helpful little tidbit is right here in our congruent sentence. If we have angle A right there and angle Z right there, since the triangles are congruent, their corresponding parts have to be congruent. So we definitely have proof that yes, angle A is congruent to angle Z. And again, let's go ahead and use that acronym CPCTC, that the corresponding parts of the congruent triangles are congruent. So moving on to problem number 3. Looks like we have 3 sets of clues to go ahead and mark. So the first one says that segment BS is congruent to segment OP. Pretty basic. It looks like our second clue, angle B right here, is congruent to angle P right there. Again, a pretty basic clue. Now the third clue we definitely have to watch out for. Angle BOS. Trace those letters carefully. BOS means this angle right there is congruent to PSO. Trace those letters carefully. PSO is this angle right there. Now, we have all 3 clues given to us, so we can go ahead and match those congruent triangles. They give us triangle POS, which goes green, red to blue, so we have to match that. Green, red to blue looks like BSO. And we have 2 angles with a side after it, so angle, angle, side. Now, trying to determine the next question, segment BO, that's right there in the congruent segment, in the congruent statement, is congruent to segment OS. Well, that's no good because those 2 parts do not match up. So no, they are not congruent, and we'll go ahead and say the parts don't match. You can't use CPCTC if the parts don't match up. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at problem number 4. Oops, where did problem number 4 go? Here it comes. Oh, we only have 2 clues. That's a short one. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. It says that N is the midpoint of segment BE. Now again, there's BE, so if we have N as the midpoint, again, that's going to bisect and create 2 congruent parts. So we're going to go ahead and cut that angle, that segment, into 2. Now, the second clue also has another segment, and that was segment OS, and N is the midpoint of that segment, so we're going to go ahead and bisect that and cut that into 2 congruent parts. Now, we were only provided 2 clues, but all of our theorems need 3 pieces, so that means something is hiding. The very common hidden piece right here, vertical angles are congruent. So that finishes our picture for us. The triangles are congruent. It stated that triangle BNO, which goes purple to the vertical to the blue. So if we match that, purple vertical blue is going to be ENS. And our theorem that we're going to use, we have a side and then an angle and then a side. So let's go ahead and try to see our angle O and angle S congruent. Well, looking at our congruence statement, we have angle O right here and we have angle S right there. Those are corresponding parts. So since our triangles are congruent, the corresponding parts are congruent. So yep, and we have our CPCTC. Alrighty, we're in the home stretch. Problem number 5. Let's go ahead and look at those two clues. It is saying that segment HI is perpendicular to segment AR. Now, remembering here's HI, and then looking at segment AR, remember by definition, perpendicular means it forms right angles. So where the yellow segment and the green segment intersect, we can go ahead and write those right angles. Our second clue says that HI, which is that yellow segment again, bisects the angle AHR. So up here, we're going to cut this angle into two congruent pieces. Now, again, we were only provided with 2 clues, so that means a third clue is hidden in our picture. Going back to that previous trick, look at segment HI, that yellow segment. It's in the left triangle, it's in the right triangle, so therefore it is congruent and it's reflexive. So we have everything that we need now. We have triangle RIH, which if we look at it goes green right to the blue. So if we follow that pattern, green to the right to the blue is going to be triangle AIH. And the theorem that we are going to use, we have an angle, then a side, then an angle. And our very last question, is segment HA right there in our congruent statement, is that congruent to RI? Oh, we've got a problem. Those are not corresponding parts, therefore they are not congruent. So, no, the parts don't match. So, as you can see through these 5 examples, every problem is different. You have to pay very close attention to the clues that are provided to you and make sure that you mark your diagram accurately, and then you should be well on your way to being able to prove that triangles are congruent. Good luck.